One of the best articles I've read in a quite some time is this from the amazing Amanda Natividad. You probably know Amanda. She's crushing it for Spark Toro and shares a bunch of amazing social content. Zero click content, the counterintuitive way to succeed in a platform native world. So, if I had to map this back to one of the kind of core archetypes of thought leadership content, like the core types, this is a really, really, really good example of a counter narrative argument, as Amanda alludes to with this title, the counterintuitive way. Because what she's doing here is describing a familiar experience that we as marketers all have, which is the marketing tactics we've always relied on don't work quite as well as they used to. And the thing that we all care about, getting the click from people, getting them back to our website, is the hardest thing it's the hardest it's ever been, basically. And obviously the truism there, the tendency there is to think that that is a bad thing. We want to avoid that. The goal is always to get as many clicks as possible, so we should do tactics that get clicks. And Amanda has turned that entirely on her head. She basically says that no, the way to do this is to embrace zero click content, to deliver value within the native platform itself, and then to hope that people will find you through this kind of serendipitous byproduct. You make them feel good, they will find you and buy from you later. And that's genius. That is taking a truism that we want clicks, turning it on its head, and in a very credible, defensible way, explaining why we have to change how we operate to get better results. So, archetypal thought leadership right from the get go. And what she's done then is something I always bang on about, which is wrapped that fantastic idea in a coined concept. So when you've gone to great pains to come up with this really smart, intelligent idea, you want to make it as easy as possible for people to remember it, to share it with other people. And the best way to do that is to give it a really short, catchy, memorable name. And I've been thinking about zero click content ever since I read about it because, again, it's counterintuitive. The idea that you want to create content that gets zero clicks makes no sense at first blush. So it's very, very easy for me to remember this and to share it with other people. So, great coin concept. Amanda is also very, very good at something that I kind of suck at. Uh, and this is exemplified not just by this sentence here, but by also the emails I've been getting from Spark Toro and from Amanda and her own mailing list. She's done a fantastic job at using and reminding people of and reiterating the zero click content concept weeks after initial publication. Because when you write thought leadership content, maybe there's like a big initial spike of traffic. The tendency that many people experience, myself included, is to move on to the next thing. When actually you're probably better served by doubling down on the thing that was already successful and talking about it more, reminding people about zero click content in this case, using that terminology over and over again to make it stick. So Amanda does that. She sent emails out about zero click content. They're hosting a Spark Toro office hours webinar about zero click content. If you talk to Amanda, she probably will talk about zero click content as well. These are all opportunities to reinforce the idea and actually make it stick and enter the content marketing discourse. So she's absolutely fantastic at that. I also really like the overarching structure of this blog post. So we very quickly, very succinctly get into the meat of the thesis, which is basically that you need to embrace zero click content. That's great. That is the kind of academic, theoretical overview. But Amanda then very quickly gets into another important part: personal experience. How does this academic concept actually hold up in the real world? How have I felt this experience? How do I know that this is true? And by talking about her own marketing efforts and the impact zero click content has had on them, that's hugely credible. It's very hard to argue against her thesis because she's showing it working in real life. And then the kind of one, two, three punch of this article is the actionable advice at the end. So give one complete, compelling idea in 200 words, summarize the heart of your idea in bullet points, tap into emotion and lead with the rant that sparked your bigger idea. So for one thing, this is the rule of three. Give three examples of something, 3 tips, because we've talked before about how that can trigger the brain's pattern matching algorithm. It's the smallest pattern that is still recognizable as a pattern. But more importantly, it's just really easy, simple, practical advice. It turns the esoteric academic thing into something that you can go away and use now to improve your marketing. And that is obviously the ultimate goal of thought leadership, to make people's lives better and easier and more successful. So fantastic structure, huge fan of how she's done that. And one last tactic that I'm a really big fan of, littered throughout this article are so many influencers. So we've just seen Ross Simmons there, John Bonini. I saw Brendan Hufford, Steph Smith, loads of people. These are all well respected, well known marketers with their own audience in their own right. And using them as examples adds credibility to Amanda's argument, because she's saying, hey, this isn't something that just exists in my head. This is a concept that other successful marketers are using to their advantage, which is great, boosts the credibility of the article. But she's then also creating incentives for these people to distribute this content to their audience, because she is making them look good. She's making them look credible and authoritative. So Steph Smith, Brendan Hufford, Ross Simmons, you name it, they all have reasons to share this blog post, because their followers will go, oh, cool, the person that I follow, they are smart enough to be featured in all this amazing content around the web. And aside from the fact that this is a fantastic article in its own right, that it hits on this kind of zeitgeist topic and does it in a really catchy, interesting way, bringing influencers into the content creation process, making them party to the thing that you are making, is another fantastic way to ensure the reach of your article is as big as possible. And that probably helped this do the huge numbers I bet it did, because, I couldn't load social media without seeing this article get referenced for a period of about 2 weeks. So yeah, huge fan of zero-click content. Amanda has absolutely crushed it here.